Mr. Mike, it's been a while. I feel like I haven't seen you in a few months.
Yeah, it felt like that.
It's funny because I think we just saw each other yesterday, right? Because we went to the movies.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
We'll talk about that after we get to this. I came up with this idea while I was at work. Critical view discussion on the Souls genre, which is like this one of the more recent in I guess original genres in the world of gaming over the past decade or so. It's fairly new still. I've been very critical of this genre, and particularly the fan base. I really can't stand the fan base, and I already made a video on that. But I wanted to actually have a discussion on the games themselves, and so I came up with this list of basically everything that I can't stand about this genre, and I wanted to have a quick discussion about that. Well, a detailed discussion. So I have the list here. We're going to go down the list of the top 10 things that's wrong with the Souls-like genre. But before we begin, I want to know your background on these games and the genre as a whole, thoughts, opinions, experience.
Oh yeah, I've played a few. Mostly Bloodborne. I thought it was a pretty cool game. A few annoying things about it. Pretty much with some of the bosses. Just like how you can, it's like a really unforgiving game. I mean, you can die easy, pretty much in like one hit just from a boss, and you like got to start all the way back and just start all over, going through some of the same little enemies or whatnot. So it can get pretty annoying and stuff like that, and kind of makes it just real mundane experience. But overall, I did think the game was pretty cool. I really enjoyed the art style, the design of the bosses, and some of the enemies in the world itself. That's really as far as it goes.
Okay. Now, what's your thoughts about like this genre as far as like its popularity and its influence on gaming as a whole?
Well, I've played. Well, I've never really beat any of them, but I've played a few things like or watched other streamers play a few games like that. Mortal Shell's game. I've seen a lot of Force, not the Force News, but the new Star Wars game, Fallen Order, and stuff like that, which all had some influence from the Dark Souls genre, Demon Souls, or whatever. And I'm not too much of a fan of it at all, really. I don't really like that style of gameplay, especially with how Mortal Souls took it. That game was just completely awful. And seeing how a lot of these new games are taking a lot of influence from this gameplay style, it's pretty annoying. It's like just no difficulty settings. They all follow the same thing, bosses, moves, everything. It's all pretty much the same, all pretty much unforgiven. And with me just not really having much time for games and stuff like that, it's just annoying to play, and it doesn't really make for a good experience, in my opinion. But that's me. That's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I do agree on quite a few of those points. I personally don't like the major influence that these games have had on gaming. As far as the genre goes itself, there's only maybe a handful of the games that are actually worth playing, and then the rest of them are just cheap copycats. And some of these are the games I'm talking about include games like Assault and Sanctuary, which is just a clone. I call them Souls clones because that's basically what they are. Mortal Shell, that one I didn't actually buy. I played the demo for it and I was like, yeah, fuck this shit. It doesn't even.
Yeah, it's an awful game.
Yeah, I didn't. It doesn't even have that one in particular. Doesn't even have a good healing system. So it's like its healing system is similar to The Witcher 3, where you would pick up like I think it's The Witcher 3. You pick up like random healing items in the environment, like mushrooms and shit, and then you'll eat a mushroom, and then there's like a timer where your health marginally like increases. That's it, really. There's not like a traditional Estus flask system like you have in the Souls games, or Bloodborne had something similar. It just they called it a different name in that game, with the blood vials or whatever it was called. For me personally, as far as my experience goes, before we get to the list, I've played quite a few of these games. I played Bloodborne. That's the first Souls game that I played, or Souls-like game that I played. I beat that game. I beat it 3 times, and I uploaded like a lot of gameplay videos to my YouTube channel back in 2015 when that game came out. A lot of the videos from that game are gone off the channel now. I platinumed that game within a week. It took me a week to do that. From there, I played Dark Souls 3, and I got most of the trophies for that. There's a few multiplayer related trophies that I missed out on. Yeah, I played through that game 3 times, and then from there I played a little bit of Code Vein, but I got lost. Well, not lost, but I got stuck after a boss and I didn't know where to go, and I kind of lost interest in it after that. I also played Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I love that game. I platinumed that. But of course, a lot of what made that successful is the IP itself, not really like the actual game style or gameplay style or anything. And then Sekiro, which is I pulled this video from my channel, and yeah, this is actually me playing. Completed Sekiro once, and I had intended to go back through it again, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. I just lost interest after the first playthrough, because it really doesn't have the level of replayability that the Dark Souls games does. Like I said, I played the demo of Mortal Shell, and that wasn't really fun or unique or inspiring in any way. So I decided not to get that. And the next one of these that's apparently coming out is Elden Ring, and I really don't have any interest in that at all. Yeah, starting down the list, top 10 things wrong with the Souls-like genre. Number 10, the enemies move faster than the player. Part of this is what really gets on my nerves about these games, is that like the player character can only move at a certain speed, and then the enemy NPCs will for whatever reason, like the developers for these games, they'll deliberately design the enemies to have a lot more faster and smooth animation than the player character. I mean, you have other games that do that, like the Resident Evil games, for example, does that, but that's like the whole point, because that's like those are horror games, and so you want there to be some level of tension. But here they do it purely to make the game harder, and it just seems like an artificial way to do it. What do you think about that point?
Yeah, that's kind of annoying because it definitely makes it off balance. I kind of see it with some of the moves that this boss is making too, with some of his strikes moving a lot more faster than you,
Right.
definitely compared to some of the strikes you're making on him right now.
Right.
So yeah, that could be pretty annoying and definitely creates a balance issue. So yeah, definitely not good.
All of these games do that too. It's not like it's just exclusive to one game. I think the game that really kind of stepped outside of that and just was a lot more balanced is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. But outside of that, yeah, all these games basically follow the same formula as far as like the way the enemies are designed, and that's one of my criticisms with the genre as a whole, is that there's really not much of an improvement from game to game. It's like I don't understand the whole appeal when nothing really improves. Number 9, limited defensive options handicap the player. This is intentional design. I want to get your opinion on that.
That definitely seems to be the case for sure, especially when I played Bloodborne. It's like all you can really do is just dodge and roll. And even then, sometimes it really doesn't even work that well. It's just really off, especially when the enemies are attacking you. Not much else you can really do outside of that. It's always just that dodge, roll, move back, all of that, and it's really not helpful at all. And it just seems like the bosses or every other enemy just has like, I guess, a much bigger advantage than you. So I can definitely see that point right there for sure.
Yeah. So when it comes to the defensive options, Bloodborne was a bit different than the other Souls-like games because blocking wasn't really like a big. That wasn't really something that they focused on because they wanted it to be more action-oriented or action-focused. But in the Dark Souls games, for example, like you can block. In Sekiro, you can block and parry, which is basically like a counter option. So, and in Star Wars, you can also block as well. So like that, those are your defensive options. Like you can block, but it's extremely limited. And even like I think they call it the riposte feature, where you block an enemy and then you strafe around them and then basically perform a backstab. That's really the extent of the your counter options in the majority of these games, and there's just not enough there to me. So if I compare this to like an actual, hands-on action game, like for example, Devil May Cry. In Devil May Cry, you have if you're playing as Dante, Dante has a guard form. You can guard an attack and then force an enemy's attack back at them. That's extremely useful. But you can't really do that in these games, and I'm not exactly sure why. There's other games too, such as like the Batman Arkham series, where it's like it's a rhythmic style of game design with the combat system, where you can counter the enemies and then create openings, and then use different gadgets and all that to throw enemies off balance. And you're doing all that in the Arkham games, and like in games like Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War, you're doing all that while keeping up a hit counter. These games aren't designed like that, and I think they would be more engaging like if you did had a hit counter or something. But that's not like the whole point of the combat system, and like everything is just focused on the difficulty again, which is the problem. Number 8. Combat usually takes place in confined spaces, leading to questionable deaths.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, so this was.
It could,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I've noticed that for sure, especially when watching a few gameplay videos of the game. You'll be like in these real tight spaces. And I guess you'll just be like a big group of enemies or a small group of enemies, but you'll just be in these real tight and confined spaces, and I don't know, it just seems real clunky and everything with the whole movement and stuff.
Yeah. Now, the reason this is a problem is because your movement in these games is already limited, like extremely limited. The characters in these games, they're not really meant to move. Like the movement isn't like fluid, like you have in, again, like games like Devil May Cry or like Batman Arkham. The movement is not fluid like that, so it's very stiff, and the animation is very very stilted in a number of different ways. You combine that with the difficulty, with the enemies having these animations where they deal like a large amount of damage. It doesn't make any sense to design the combat to take place in these small arenas. Basically, is what they are, because it does lead to cheap deaths, and it just makes the game unnecessarily frustrating. Bloodborne definitely had this issue. Dark Souls 3 had this issue in a number of different areas. Sekiro had this issue as well. And so I don't understand like the whole mentality with that, and it really doesn't work to the benefit of these games at all. Number 7. Damage sponge enemies kill legitimate challenge. That seems to be a problem with a lot of these games, where the enemies, they just have these ridiculous health pools, and sometimes it feels like no matter how much you tap the attack button, you're really only doing like a fraction of damage against your target. And I don't understand, once again, what the point of that is.
Yeah, it draws the fights out way too long too.
Yeah. That's really the problem. And again, like you have other games going back to the Resident Evil, for example. Resident Evil has damage sponge enemies, but the good games in that franchise, they the whole point is to like shoot the enemies and then run around them, right? And then
Yeah.
like if I play like Devil May Cry or like Kingdom Hearts, for example, Kingdom Hearts 2 on the hardest difficulty for Devil May Cry, that would be like the later games. It would be Hell in Hell mode. For Kingdom Hearts 2, that would be like critical. For those games, you have a lot more mobility. You have more offensive options, and you have more defensive options as well than what you have in these Souls-like games. It just works better in those games when you have enemies that have large health pools. Here, it doesn't really, for these games, it really doesn't work as well. It just seems like another way to artificially make the game harder. Point number 6. RPG progression becomes an impossible grind past a specific level. So yeah, that's a major flaw. So for example,
Yeah. Break that down for me.
You said what now?
Yeah, break that down for me.
Yeah, so in the Souls games and Bloodborne, those are RPG games.
Yeah.
It's based on a leveling system, like how much damage you dish out, how much health you have, if you can use certain weapons and whatnot. You have to level up these attributes to do all that. But once you get to a certain level, which is like level 50, level 60, and so on and so forth, it becomes extremely grindy to level up.
Oh yeah, I got you.
So like when you first start off, like every level every level you obtain, you get like 3 skill points. But then it starts to decrease after that. Once you get to a certain rank or a certain level, it'll give you like 1 skill point. And it's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? You'll get an upgrade for like your health. And at first, like the game will give you like plus 20 health points for like every attribute you increase. But then it'll decrease to like plus 10 health. And it's like, why would you guys do that? Like, I don't understand. And then the higher you go, the more experience points you need to level up in the first place. So it makes the game extremely ridiculous to where in order to if you're playing the game legitimately and you're not cheating and you're not using like the item duplication glitch, which somehow magically is in all of these games, you basically have to play through the entire game in order to level up a decent amount, and it shouldn't be like that at all.
Right.
So yeah, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, that's actually a problem in many games too, even outside the Dark Souls genre, and it's real annoying. Like I just hate doing stuff like that. It's just too time consuming, and it really slows down the progression by a lot. So I'm not a fan of that at all.
Yeah,
It just really ruins the experience for me.
it seems like a lazy way to say, oh, our game has replay value. So we want you to play our game like 3 or 4 times to where it feels like you're satisfied and you got your money's worth. It's a cheap way to give completionists a sense of achievement or accomplishment,
Yeah.
and I don't like that at all. Other games that have that issue as well are the RPG Assassin's Creed games, Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla. They have that issue as well. So it's not just these games. It's an issue with other games, like you stated. Number 5. Well, I'm gonna make sure I have this right. Yeah, number 5. Lack of communication leads to the player wasting time on the internet in order to accomplish basic tasks. A crucial design flaw. So when it comes to the lack of communication, basically when you start these games, they don't tell you shit, and they don't tell you how.
Oh yeah, you're on your own.
Yeah. They don't tell you anything, and the hardcore enemy or the hardcore players in the community for these games, they defend the game by saying, "Oh, the game's not babying you. You know, it's better to figure things out on your own. Otherwise, why are you playing it to begin with?" And it's really a weak straw man argument because it's like, how the fuck am I supposed to learn how to play the goddamn game? Because video games don't come with an instruction manual anymore. So whatever you don't know, if you can't figure it out on your own, then you have to go up on Google, the mighty guru that's Google search or whatever search engine that you use, and then you have to type in what problem you're having with a particular quest, or maybe you can't find a specific character, or it could be something simple like, how do I make progress? Where am I supposed to go? Which these games have that issue. Yeah, it's a big problem. Every video game should have a certain amount of communication with the players so they can know how to actually play the game properly. And a lot of the difficulty from these games comes from the games not really providing the player enough information that they need in order to be successful. So that's bullshit to me. What do you?
Yeah, I can agree with you on that as well. Because just seeing a lot of new players playthroughs and stuff like that, it's cool just being able to wander anywhere you want in these games. But there'll just be certain areas where you're clearly just not ready for that, and you just get fucked up every time. You'll eventually figure that out for yourself, but still, and there's still other things you have to learn. You're just wasting your time, and it's basically trial and error. And it's like, I really don't have time for shit like that. Like, you can just easily explain it to me. People can really get out of here with that. You just get good, learn the game bullshit. But it's like they don't really give you any clear explanation, and it's not for a good reason at all.
Yeah. Like I said, I just don't understand like what the whole purpose of like some of these design choices is from these game developers. It's like, are you trying to make the game fun or are you trying to make it work? Because if you're trying to make it work, then you can miss me with the bullshit. This is why I've pretty much lost interest in this genre, because it's like, what the hell is the point?
Right.
And so yeah, that's point number 5. I actually have these labeled wrong. I have more than 10 points, but I accidentally like listed the same number for different points. That's why I'm getting confused here. Yeah, so so I have to fucking count this shit. Yeah, fuck the numbers. We're just gonna move on to the next point. The next point is the player can still die after 1 or 2 hits multiple hours into the game, making progression a useless endeavor.
Oh yeah, that's true. It doesn't stop at all. It's always like that, beginning and end.
It doesn't make any sense to me in an RPG game, where the whole point of is to like level up and get stronger. It doesn't make any sense to design a game like that where the enemies can still kill the player 1 or 2 hits multiple hours into the game. It doesn't make any sense to do that to me, because it's like, you feel weak throughout the entire game, and if that's the case, what's the point of the progression system?
Yeah.
It just makes it pointless. For example, like Bloodborne, you can put like 60 hours in the Bloodborne and then still die like within 1 or 2 hits, and then some of the enemies can kill you in 1 hit. So it's like, what the fuck is the point of that?
Yeah. Even right here, you're at the end of the game, and this dude right here can still 1 hit or 2 hit kill you.
This is why I was running around.
Yeah, I hope you've been paying attention to this too. You can just outrun him and just do a couple hits on him and just finish him like that.
I mean, yeah, you can figure out his dodge pattern, but with this boss, it's like I was really like struggling to figure out like which way am I supposed to fucking dodge? Am I supposed to, because usually with a lot of bosses in these games, you can like strafe towards the boss like at an angle. Like if you go diagonal to the left or to the right towards the boss, you'll evade a lot of their attacks. because the game design is just like fucked up. It shouldn't be like that, but that's how a lot of them are designed. But this guy wasn't. That shit didn't really work because the hitboxes are like fucked up, and so past a certain number of tries, a certain number of attempts, I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna run around. After he finishes his attack animation, I'm gonna go in for a poke. Yeah, that was my strategy, and it fucking worked. And my strategy shouldn't have worked at all.
Yeah, that's a big way you can exploit this game. Even in the Dark Souls games, I see it all the time too.
Oh yeah, people use that same strategy on YouTube, and it's like if you can do that and just cheese the game like that, then something's wrong with the design of the game because I don't know a single boss from other video games where you can do that. That's just you like I said, playing chicken is not my idea of fun. And like I said, I did this for 40 minutes. This is a 40 goddamn minute video. Yeah, I don't know what the hell they were thinking. But anyway, moving on to the next point. The lack of difficulty options alienates a huge casual audience, narrowing the genre's growth due to lack of fair criticism. Not having difficulty options in these games actually hurts the genre because what it does is, as my point states, it alienates a huge audience. And when you alienate a huge audience, you're only basically making these games for the target audience. The target audience is usually made up of a bunch of fanboys and shills who will accept anything that's put in front of them and won't accept criticism. And so what you get is the same flaws repeated in these games from game to game to game, and nothing really improves. And this is one of my biggest problems with the genre as a whole. Why I've basically lost all interest in these games. Because nothing is improving because you're alienating a huge audience. And then some of the criticisms that I have read or heard on the internet for these games, they're basically just ignored by the game developers and the community, or they're just mocked, and they shouldn't be. Game developers should take criticisms seriously so they can improve their product, so they can widen their audience. But when you limit your audience like this, it's not really good for anybody.
Yeah, it should definitely turn me off from wanting to play the rest of them.
Exactly.
And I think it's pretty sad that they believe that because of lack of difficulty options. I hear a lot of people saying it just makes you a hardcore gamer. You just stick with playing the game just like how they make it like that. I don't believe that at all.
No, you're not a hardcore gamer because you can play some soul shit. If you really wanna like search up a list of like the hardest video games of all time, Souls genre will be up on there just for like the modern era of gaming. But if you go back to like some Super Nintendo shit, that's the real hard shit right there. Like seriously, go and play. Actually, go and watch Angry Video Game Nerd AVGN. Go and watch his for anyone watching. Go and watch his video of Silver Surfer, where everything in the game, like enemies or even obstacles in the environment, walls, whatever, everything you touch or anything that hits you kills you automatically. It's a one-hit kill. Throughout that entire game, from level 1 all the way through, stage 1 all the way through the, whatever the final stage is. Yeah, these games really aren't that difficult. A lot of the difficulty is based off of artificial design. So, moving on to the next point. Without multiplayer co-op, most players would not be capable of completing these games successfully. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice basically proves this point correct, because this boss fight right here is legit difficult. It's hard, and a lot of players got to this boss and essentially couldn't beat it and quit the game. And Sekiro, the thing about Sekiro is that it's not an RPG game, and there's no multiplayer, so you can't do what you can do in like Bloodborne or like the other Souls games or Neo. You can't summon other players online and then fight a boss together. This game in particular, you have to beat all on your own. I think weird to design a video game in this day and age that's so difficult that most of the game's audience can't even finish it. Because it's like if they can't beat one of your games now, why would they return and play something else that you develop in the future?
Right.
It doesn't really make any sense. It doesn't correlate, you know?
Right.
It's just a weird business. It's not even a business strategy. It's really just stupidity and just delusional ignorance on the behalf of the game developers.
Yeah, they've made no changes whatsoever.
No, they really haven't. It's the same shit. It's the same shit that they've been making for years, particularly from software, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that doesn't really make any sense. Next point. The item duplication glitch completely breaks the game design and showcases how simple said design is. Is this a crucial design flaw or is it intentional?
I
So,
haven't heard about this one.
the item duplication glitch is something that exists in pretty much all of the Souls games. It exists in Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, and Bloodborne. It's like in every fucking game, and I don't understand why, why that is. And basically what it is it's a glitch that the player can manipulate to duplicate any item that's in their inventory. That includes the items where you can gain a bunch of souls immediately as soon as you use it. And that basically gives you the advantage because what it does is you can gain thousands upon thousands of souls, or blood echoes in Bloodborne's case. You can gain thousands upon thousands within minutes, and then go and level up your character to where you're pretty much overpowered, and you basically can break the game doing that, and it removes all the difficulty. It's basically like a hidden easy mode is a way to look at it. Now, because there's no actual easy mode in the game, you have to wonder if the developers put that glitch in the game intentionally, like if that's something that's deliberate, but they won't ever admit it in interviews when they say, this game is for hardcore players. We want our players to have a sense of accomplishment playing these games, and that's why we're not adding in lower difficulty levels. But then you have this glitch in every fucking game, like that completely breaks it. So like, yeah, that's a bit weird to me.
Yeah, what's going on with the dev team? What, are they just fucking copy and pasting their code every game? Or just too lazy to go back and see what's causing it? Yeah, it's definitely fishy.
Another thing with it though is that like the hardcore players, the core players within the game's community, they'll speak out about the item duplication glitch and then complain about it because players will go online with the shit and basically fuck people up who've actually spent the time naturally leveling up and shit, and they'll fight someone who's using that glitch and get destroyed in seconds because they're basically cheating. And so the developers have to go in order to satisfy their audience and keep their customers happy. They have to go in and actually patch the glitch out. And it's like, it shouldn't even be in the game to begin with. Either make a fucking easy mode or don't. That's just, I just don't understand that. Just strange design all the way around with that one. There's really no defending that. Next point. The enemy AI is dumb. Most enemies are designed to bum rush the player, while others are easily baited into mindless maneuvers and brain-dead counter options. A lot of the enemies in the Souls games, if you notice, most of them will attack you like as soon as they see you on screen, and they'll just continuously attack you. And all you have to do is like strafe around them most of the time and like backstab them, and then they'll die. And it's like, okay, what the fuck, what the hell is the point? Yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
That's definitely true. You see it every game. Definitely with real kind of weaker enemies most of the time too. So it's like, why even put them there? They're just pretty much a waste of space, and kind of no point in really killing them. Just getting that additional experience with souls or whatever. But yeah, it's pretty pointless.
Yeah, just bad design all the way around. Now, I have one more point, but we're gonna have to switch to a different video because this one's run out of time. So let me stop the recorder and we'll pick it back up. So yeah, I had to pull up another video. I just pulled up a random boss fight that was on my channel. This is from Bloodborne or whatever. But anyway, the final point is lore by itself is not legit storytelling. In-game cutscenes are used mainly to introduce new locations and bosses. However, these games give the player no reason to care about the world or the characters, including their own created sprite.
Lord, isn't that the truth with these games?
Yeah, so that's really my biggest problem with these games is that you have this hard ass difficult game. These games they have these interesting like character designs and whatnot for like the enemies and the bosses and all that. But the funny part about all of it is that there's no reason to give a shit about any of it because there's no emphasis on storytelling. And one could argue that's the point, but it's like, quite a few of these games are RPG games, like Bloodborne, the Souls games, and Neo and whatnot. But the Neo games do a lot better. The Neo games do a much better job of storytelling than the Souls games. The Souls games, there's not really any cutscenes throughout the game. The cutscenes are primarily used to introduce like a boss or a new location, but outside of that, you don't get a scene where your character is like talking to someone else, and then like the in-game cutscenes that are there, your character doesn't say anything at all, and so it's like there's no personality to your character. You're just playing as what I call it is a stick figure. You're playing a walking stick figure. There's no personality with the character you're playing as. So it's like, what's the point? I compare something like this to like Dragon Age or Mass Effect or Knights of the Old Republic, a BioWare game basically. And there's a huge difference. And even the lore of these games, which is like the whole craze. Oh, but the lore is so it has so much depth to it, and it's like if you compare the lore of these games to like the lore in the Fallout games or The Witcher or Mass Effect or basically any other modern RPG or like the Final Fantasy games, it's night and day. It's not even a fair comparison, basically. The lore in these games is extremely weak because a lot of it is vague. It's based off of vague information and personal interpretation up to the player. So really, it's lazy in a number of different ways. What do you think?
Yeah, from playing Bloodborne and just watching a lot of the gameplay videos of Demon Souls or other Dark Souls games or games similar to it. Yeah, for each and every one of those games with the world, it's like they just threw a bunch of cool looking shit up there and they're like just paste it everywhere and it's like, yeah, just have at it. There's really no background or much background to really go off of. It's just like it's just there and you don't really give a shit about anything. It's just okay, here's a cool looking boss, cool looking creature, and you're just there to kill it. There's really not much to really care about. I mean, it all looks nice and pretty, but you may have those little pages to read and stuff like that, but like, who really cares? I'm like, it's not really interesting at all, and it doesn't really draw me in to even really care about this world. Like you said, it's not good storytelling, and it just doesn't make it interesting whatsoever. So yeah, that's a big problem with these games, and they haven't improved upon it like at all. I mean, each and every one of these games is a copy and paste with it the same way. You just don't give a shit about any of the bosses. They just put them there, you give them a name, you fight them, kill them, you're on to the next one. And that's all it is with each and every one of them. So that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, so that's basically the gist of it. Basically, yeah, when it comes to like the lore and shit, it's all style, no substance. There's nothing there under the curtain. It's like meeting a hot girl, right? And I hate using examples like this, but in this case, it's relevant.
It's fitting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fitting.
So it's like meeting a hot girl, and you get her number. You go home with her or whatever, and then she takes off her pants, and it's like, okay, well. I see tits, I see a vagina, but it's not like it's not anything I haven't seen before. It's not really that special. Yeah, you basically you need a personality to make someone interesting. You need a personality to make a story interesting. Without personality, there's no reason to care, and these games don't have that. So, yep, that's basically the list. Is there anything you wanted to add?
Not much I really want to add, but it's just so crazy they've gone through all these and haven't made a single damn improvement really, or a meaningful improvement. It's really all a copy and paste, and they really haven't been listening to much feedback. But I have to blame, like what you were saying a bit earlier. It's mostly the fanboys who criticize anyone who actually criticizes the actual gameplay, and that's why these games are mostly just stayed the way they are. It's pretty much the same with every single one of them, and I expect Elden Ring to pretty much play out the same way as well. So this is pretty much what we're gonna get.
Yeah, it's not really going to be a different experience. I'll be very surprised if we actually get something that's actually new with Elden Ring. Because the thing about Elden Ring is that like their whole selling point based off of like the limited information that's available on it right now is that it's going to be an open world game, but it's like open world is a genre that's pretty much worn out its welcome at this point, with very few exceptions.
Yeah.
So open world is nothing new. Open world is just it's another tried and overused formula these days with video games. So an open world Souls game is not something by itself that's going to interest me. I need actual improvements, and it's going to take a lot more than creating a bland, wide open space to do that. Trust me, I'm not the only person within the so-called hardcore audience that criticizes these games. If you go up on websites like GameSpot, like the leaked Elden Ring trailer or whatever or the footage, the leaked footage that we took a look at. I went up on GameSpot and I was seeing some of the same responses up on there, like, oh, it's the same shit, it's the same fucking game. What is new? So it's not like we're the only ones that's saying these things. So, but yeah, that's really it. I appreciate you helping me out with this video. I want to have more discussions like this at some point in the future. And this is one I had wanted to do, but I didn't know what the format was going to be for the longest time. So glad we were able to get to this finally. Yeah, we will return with more discussions like this. I just have to edit this long ass thing. But it's all good. It is what it is. But anyway, like I said, we will return.